Today I wanted to do a discussion about Lemaire and their spring 2026 offering. I feel like a lot of people don't do more in-depth reviews about a specific brand's offering for that season, and I was trying to find content that resonated with me and I was not finding it. So here I am making it so that maybe somebody else who's interested can find that specific video that they're looking for. Okay, so I've pulled up the website. I have to say, when I was doing my initial scroll of the website, I felt like everything was designed pretty well and it's very accessible. They're showcasing their spring 2026 collection, obviously. The sections that they're highlighting are the outerwear and the bags, which I feel like makes the most sense for Lemaire. I think they focus mainly on their waterproof trenches for the spring, and then their croissant bags are super popular. So I think that tracks for them. And then they do highlight their new autumn-winter 2026 collection show, and then their stores. And I think they just recently opened one up when I was doing my little research. And then just a little bit of background about the brand. I can read their about. Lemaire is a fashion house led by Christophe Lemaire and Sarah Lynn Tran. Its collections balance form and function in thoughtful clothing and accessories designed for everyday life. Shaped by a cross-cultural sensibility and enriched by ongoing collaborations with artists and artisans, the wardrobe evolves season after season through modular silhouettes, distinctive materials, and subtle construction details that follow the body's movement. Garments and accessories are made with care, using time-honored techniques and fabrics sourced primarily from Europe and Japan. Each piece is designed to be layered, reinterpreted, and lived in over time. Some key phrases that I took out of that about blurb were form and function, everyday, modular silhouettes, and designed to be layered. And this resonates with me because majority of my time is spent working and moving. I take public transportation, so I'm always needing to have multiple layers on that can easily be interchanged. And Lemaire provides stylings and items that are fitting that role. My routine of going from outside to inside, from bus, another bus, going from just different locations, it necessitates me to have breathable fabrics on, and Lemaire does that. This isn't to say that I do have a lot of Lemaire pieces in my wardrobe, just their sensibilities resonate with me and are very similar to other brands' philosophies. I will say the more accessible Lemaire clothing I do have is their collaboration with Uniqlo. I feel like the construction and designing of the clothing that they're doing through their Uniqlo U line are very similar to their main line. Obviously not using as high of qualities, but they're still using 100% cotton and different blends for water repellent trenches, which are very similar to what they offer in their main line. I would say that the majority of their shows use different fabrics. They play with a lot of layering to create intriguing and nuanced looks. We can actually look at their most recent collection as an example. I would say this look is a good example of that. So here we have a textured trench coat. I'm sure it's treated to be waterproof. And then we have these really thick, plush-looking wool pants, possibly. And then the thing that was intriguing me the most was the footwear. It's almost like a fur, but it also could be a satin. I can't really tell, but this really shows the playfulness of the textures that they use and how they use that to create intrigue in a seemingly basic outfit, really, if we're being honest. Here's their description for their Spring-Summer 2026 show. Style is a critical and intuitive practice, a temporal rehearsal of the self, shaped by a distinct sense of personal expression. The Lemaire Spring Summer 2026 collection affirms that a love of fashion and style is the house's creative frequency, with fabrics, textures, proportions, and colors that amplify the act of dressing. I think one of my favorite things about Lemaire and their shows are the musicians that they choose to showcase. It always seems like they're having fun, and it just feels very freeing, which also goes with the theme of their show. And a lot of the clothing here is very fluid. For the spring season, they're showing a lot more skin compared to the winter, where everything is just very stark and covered up. And then in look one, we have this look with a really slinky trench coat with a pair of shorts and a cotton t-shirt, all super light fabrics. I love how the fabric is moving in the wind and really capturing the essence of the spring season. I also feel like you need to think about morning and nighttime and daytime as well, because obviously it's going to be colder in the mornings in the spring. So you need to have something that you're able to take off during the daytime that allows you to breathe, because you don't want to be too hot. So I like that the trench coat is thin enough to where you could wear it during the daytime as well. But if it does get hot, you can just take it off and you have that cotton button down on along with the shorts, which also adds some breathing room for you. In my opinion, I would have to say one of Lemaire's highlights for the women's wear are the dresses and the skirts. I feel like they're able to create different shapes around the body and move in ways that I feel like really encapsulate the spring. And in a lot of ways, I think Lemaire uses draping and strings to create interest in the outfits, because, like I said before, there's nothing groundbreaking about this. It's really in the details of the shapes that they're trying to create and the ways in which the clothes can be modular that I think are really adding an interesting level to it. Because once that's stripped away, I feel like you just have a basic skirt, a basic trench coat. And then we have look 9, which I think is probably one of my favorite outfits. I just like how modular it is, because we have this skirt that looks like there's multiple tiers and this shorter trench coat that I just think really cuts off at a nice spot. The whole outfit is just creating a lot of horizontal lines, which I'm really enjoying. We have a horizontal line with the belt and then the horizontal lines of the skirt tiers. And we also have a little tiny bit of skin peeking with the heel, but also obviously with the skirt. I think this is just a really quintessential Lemaire look. The fabric of the skirt also seems super flowy and airy, and I think it would be easy to layer below or on top of it. And while I was scrolling through this, I was more so intrigued with the women's wear, not really the men's wear, because it seemed like everything was pretty much the same as it usually is, except the silhouettes were slimmer, which I did actually really enjoy. Like in look 26, we have a slimmer pant that is cropped, which is surprising because bottoms for men usually are either tapered with their barrel shape or they're just baggy. So it's interesting to see that they're cutting it off a bit shorter than usual. And along with strings and draping, I think jewelry is another way that Lemaire amplifies their outfits. You never really hear people talking about the accessories, but they have a really nice selection of accessories. And at times, I think their jewelry is more expressive than the clothes themselves. And then I absolutely love the colors that he's using in this show, specifically in look 34 and also looks 41, 42, and 43. But specifically 34, they have a way of desaturating these colors. This purple that's like almost a gray, this brown that's almost like a black. it's really beautiful, and I feel like no one does color combinations like Lemaire. And I do know that even for their Uniqlo U collaboration, they also take color into account. I just watched a video that he did talking about their process of building a collection for Uniqlo U, and he talks about how the choosing the color part takes a while. They start off with like 10s and 20s of colors and then whittle it down to just a few. So it's interesting to see what aspects of these clothes people really take into account that other people don't. Look 41, 42, 43 are perfect. In my eyes, they are perfect. And I love that the jewelry in 43 has a pop of red to mimic the red in this jacket that the model has on. That shade of red with that burgundy pant, yeah, I love it. And I think he uses these desaturated colors because they're easy to match with everything. And since their philosophy is having these pieces that can be mixed and matched and worn with everything, basically, the color needs to hit every note. And having these desaturated colors allows for seamless and easier wear with different pieces. Okay, now we can look at the website. I did in fact take a break. I had some food. I'm feeling a lot better. So let's get back to it. I'm gonna start off with the women's section for their new spring 2026 arrivals. So I did in fact take a look at the site before, so I have an idea of what the offering is for spring 2026. But for the women's, there is a lot of dress options. Like I was saying, I think that's one of the standouts of Lemaire. For example, this column dress in shiny viscose. I would say a lot of the dresses that they do have for this season are light fabrics. I saw a crepe fabric, we have viscose, and then I also saw a cotton hybrid with linen, which I thought was a nice combination. So with this column dress in shiny viscose, I feel like you could also wear this as a top, just tucking in the two little flaps in the front and the back. So very modular and definitely goes with Lemaire's philosophy. I also love the color on this. It's like a deep dark green that has barely any warmth to it, which also goes back to our desaturated colors conversation. And the texture on it is really interesting too. It's not ribbed, it sort of looks woven a bit, which also adds some intrigue. And it's priced at, girl, $855. Okay, see, yeah, that's where you lost me, boo. But still, really beautiful dress. There's also the tank top mini dress that sort of acts the same as that shiny viscose dress. You can wear this as a top, just as a tank top. You can have it as a layering piece on top of a shirt, like they do have it in the example here. And it's also this like rich chocolate brown, which goes with a lot. And it's a thinner fabric as well. It's $600. Oh my gosh, okay. My favorite dress has to be the double layered dress. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. I believe this was the dress that was worn with that short trench coat, which is a perfect use of using it as a skirt and not a dress. I think that was very smart of them. And this can also be used as just a shirt layer as well, if you wanted to tuck in the skirt part and just wear some actual pants with this. But $2,000. Wow. Wow. I do love the layers of sheerness to it. There's more opaque layers, there's some that show more skin, which ultimately adds some intrigue And there's also some draping going on as well, draping and pleating. Draping around the waist, which looks very flattering, and the pleating on the skirt, which is a nice touch as well. I also love these sheer gaiters that they have. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, their gaiters that they have for this season are pretty cool. I would love to have a pair, but I don't have shoes to wear with that, so I would have to wear like actual heels, and I don't want to do that. They do have their classic twisted shirts and cardigans, which I think is just a staple in the Lemaire wardrobe. The other thing that I thought was pretty cool was the reversible cardigan they have, which I thought was really neat. It comes in this really light pastel yellow that they're calling butter, and it comes in a chocolate brown as well. But basically you can either wear it with the buttons showing on the front or the buttons showing on the back, which I think is really fun, and it brings some more playfulness to Lemaire. Like, it doesn't have to be too serious. What I'm most excited to talk about is the jewelry, and specifically regarding their seeds jewelry that they have. It comes in an earring and a bracelet and a ring, I believe. And it's a combination of silver, gold, and black. Unveiled at the Spring-Summer 2026 show, this new jewelry line is inspired by clusters of tiny seeds, delicately assembled by hand. Each piece gathers multiple small elements with various galvanic treatments and finishes, creating subtle contrasts of tone and texture. I think this is so cool. I love how it just looks like it's falling off the finger, falling off the ear. It is really cool. And you wouldn't think of Lemaire as a brand to do something like this, but it makes sense, really. This Carlos cuff is also really cool. Goatskin leather, wow. It's in collaboration with an artist, Carlos Peñafiel. I really love how it kind of mimics the bag handle too. That is really interesting. And with the spring season, they're doing a number of fabric combinations like we saw with the women's. So for the men's, they're doing a polywool combination, which is polyester and wool. And they're doing it in the form of a tailor jacket, which I think is pretty smart. It allows for the jacket to really flow in the air and drape really nicely on the body while also being a bit more breathable. I know polyester gets a bad rep, but it's nicer in like athleisure because it can be moisture wicking at times when it's in combination with different fabrics. And wool is the perfect one for that. And they are doing like thinner leather jackets, like I said. This soft leather blouson in paper cow leather. So you can see from the stock photos, it's still very thin and doesn't seem too heavy. And then of course they're doing their twisted pants, which are a staple. And then their trench coats. These look really interesting. They are treated to be water repellent, of course. The rib Henley top is probably the standout for me in the men's section. It features a cuffed short sleeve that has 3 buttons, and it's more so like a dressier version of a Henley, which I kind of really like. And they paired it with these straighter wide leg pants tucked in. I think it just looks very effortless, and the price actually is not bad. It's $3.90. It comes in black and sage, kind of like the black more. But yeah, with the menswear, it's just like, it doesn't feel as thought out as the women's wear. I think the women's wear is definitely more interesting with the skirts, with the dresses, with even the pants and the jackets. Like, everything is just up a notch with the women's. But yeah, I'd be interested to see how these pieces get styled in real life and how people will incorporate these into their wardrobe. I'm looking forward to like scrolling the tag of Lemaire to see what people are picking up. I think the new additions are great for the Lemaire person, the Lemaire wardrobe. The women's seemed a bit more modular, which I personally prefer. I think there's more options in styling with the women's, specifically with the dresses. I think you can get a lot for your money with those just because they can pair with different things. Spring Summer 2026, I believe, is a strong offering for Lemaire. In the women's, the men's is questionable. I do like the more colorful outfits in the men's. I didn't see any of that online, so maybe it's coming later on in the American market. Overall, I'm trying to introduce you guys to the brands that I'm interested in and the type of videos I want to create. This is my first time doing something like this. I have made a TikTok before where I was talking about Yohji Yamamoto, but I hadn't done one in a while. So this is nice to just get my thoughts out and have a larger conversation. I feel like on TikTok, people are just looking for something short, but YouTube, you can actually delve deeper into it. So I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts as well. And I will see you next month.